I will go first. I'm Bentley Wolf. I am the current president of the Lake Edge Neighborhood Association. I have only lived in this neighborhood since last July, so I'm jumping in the deep end right away, and it's an interesting learning experience. But I really like the neighborhood, and I'm really looking forward to getting out in it now that the days are getting a little bit longer. Who's next?
I can go next. My name is Sarah Wilkin Gibbart. I've been in the Lake Edge neighborhood about 5 years. This is my first time on the board, and I'm vice president. And yeah, looking forward to trying to get us all together. And I was inspired because COVID, you know, we have each other, right? Ultimately. So thanks. I'll pass it to Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Hafes. I am the secretary. I keep the notes and take the minutes and try to capture what I should. And I'm thrilled to be here and so glad so many people showed up.
Mr. Sullivan, would you like to go next?
His audio is messed up, it sounds like.
Or not.
Hear me right now?
Kathleen, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Kathleen, and I'm not Hawk the treasurer. I am a member at large, and I just work on various and assorted things.
I'm Kate. I'm a member at large as well. I work on the newsletter and other relations with schools and other community partners.
And Facebook admin.
I'm Nick. I'm a member at large. I've been in Madison for over 10 years, but moved to the neighborhood last summer. I can help with a bunch of technical stuff.
Nice mustache.
All right.
Thank you.
Is my audio working now?
Yes, it is. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry about that. I'm Hawk Sullivan. I've been in the neighborhood for 15 years. I don't know. I've been on the board on various different degrees, and I'm currently the treasurer.
Outstanding. Well, that's the board. Okay, let's get started. Here I'm going to put in the chat what the format of our discussion is. We have
Does someone have a TV in the background going on? Or
I'm gonna mute
conversation?
everybody in a second. So hold on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mute everyone. I'm going to unmute only Brad and Dina. You'll have 2 minutes to introduce yourself. Nick is going to paste each of the individual questions. They've already received the questions, so they know what we're going to be talking about. They'll have 2 minutes for each question. At the end, we're going to have a 5-minute battle round discussion where they can, like a mini debate, so to speak, where they can talk to each other and discuss some of these issues. And if you would like to, one thing we didn't really discuss is if you have a question about the 2-minute discussion, please raise your hand or put it in the chat, and then we'll try to address it that way. All right, here we go. Muting all. Yes. All right. Mute and suppose I should mute myself. So, okay. We'll start with 2-minute introductions from Brad and Tina. Please begin. I don't know. I don't have a particular person can go first, so you two can fight for it.
You want to go ahead, Brad?
Sure. Thanks, Tina. Hello, everyone. My name is Brad Hinkpus. I'll just start by saying how excited I am to be here and to see another neighborhood association meeting. Some of you may know I've been really involved in the Sassy Neighborhood Association on the north side of the district for many, many years. And for me, it's always exciting to see any other neighborhood association in action, because this is really where some of the best work happens in a district and in a neighborhood, is when people like you all come together. I've seen some fantastic things happen in Sassy. I'm sure that there are fantastic things happening elsewhere in the district. So hooray for all of you, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and introduce ourselves to you all. So yes, I'm running for the District 15 Alder. For me, this is an extension of a great deal of involvement. I lived in the neighborhood on the north side of the district for over 20 years. And during that time, I have been nonstop involved in neighborhood organizing, neighborhood leadership, and really kind of bringing people together to engage around the issues that they define as being the most important things for them. So lots of the issues that we talk about, or that I've heard people talk to me about when I'm knocking doors and out there at different meetings, are some things that I really already have some experience with. But I also would say that part of what I bring to this are the values of understanding that I am not a know-it-all, and some of my best resources are all of you, or the people who live in these places and are dealing with the different things that impact you on a day-to-day basis. So for me, listening is one of the most paramount things that I bring to this. And I think it's been one of the most effective attributes that I've had in doing the sorts of neighborhood organizing work that I've done over these 20 years. I will also speak briefly to my professional work. I'm the executive director of a nonprofit organization that provides permanent supportive housing to people with long-term mental health and homelessness histories. So we're working with some of the toughest people to serve in the community, and we're being able to house them. Our folks are typically homeless yesterday and housed today. So I've got a lot of experience working with that population. Prior to my current role, I worked with DAYS, Domestic Abuse Intervention Services, as well as about 15 years with Porchlight. So I've got a lot of experience working with vulnerable populations, and I think that's taught me some tremendously valuable lessons, not only in neighborhood engagement, but just how to work with all different sorts of people. It's a humbling type of work, but it's also a very empowering sort of work. And I feel fortunate to have been doing the sort of work that I've been doing so long. So I bring that experience and that tool set to the position of Alder as well.
Thank you, Brad. That's
that's
our
it.
2 minutes. Thanks so much. We're really glad to have you here. Dina, look forward to hearing from you now.
Thank you. I'm Dina Nina. Thank you so much for holding this and for believing in community and doing all you guys do. I am a small business owner. I moved to Madison from Los Angeles on purpose. When I moved here, I was scared that I would either get murdered or married, and neither one has happened. So I am here living my life and felt so welcomed when I first moved here. And I never expected that. So being in this city and being welcomed wholeheartedly, especially as a transgender woman, was surprising, and it continues to surprise me. I am a small business owner. I run a comedy studio here in Madison as a creative performer and a creative entrepreneur. I hate to admit it, but I am intimately familiar with poverty. It doesn't look like it, I know, but I experience bouts of poverty, so I know what it feels like when I have to prioritize paying my rent over taking care of my body and taking care of my family, which is a small mini rat terrier. I also believe in the power of community. As an entrepreneur, I've been creating community around women in comedy and queer people in comedy. And I just have a fire in my belly, especially with the targeting of trans people around this country. I thought it was time for me to step up and make my voice heard before it seeps into this city that I love so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dina.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nick, are you ready to go with question number 1?
We are ready. I am posting in the chat now.
All right. I'll reread it and then we can begin. Get my timer ready.
Perfect. And just like I did the last time, when you get to your 2 minutes, I'll be waving and thanking you.
All right. So question number 1 is, and we gathered these questions from the community a few weeks ago. And question number 1 is, in your eyes and your view, what are the top 2 issues for Lake Edge and Eastmoreland neighborhoods going into April of 23?
I'll go first, since Brad went first on the other one. What I've been hearing at the door is people are concerned about affordability. We have over 100,000 people that are slated to move into this city, And we don't have housing for them. We barely have housing for who we have. So an affordable housing, far more of us are on the verge of financial ruin than we would like to admit. And as such, and as somebody who's experienced housing insecurity, I believe that we need to make sure that we have housing for all people of all income levels, and diminish the barriers of entry in that. The other thing I would say, people are really excited that a trans person is running for office. As a trans woman, I'm a white woman. I move through society pretty easily, but I still have experienced things like discrimination when it comes to hiring practices. And I believe that representation not only matters, it saves lives.
You got a few seconds left if you'd like to continue, Gina.
Oh, I think I've said what I needed to, so.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I may be shorter.
That's okay. All right, Brad, when you're ready.
Thank you. So I'm going to say as my first thing, I'm going to echo what Dina just said, and that's basically the cost of living. In knocking doors, what I'm hearing people say over and over again, even those who are secure in their homes, is that they're on the verge of not being able to afford to live here anymore. The increased cost of everything, the cost of taxes, the cost of special assessments for different things, the cost of all sorts of fees, and just general inflation as well, has people afraid that the Madison that they grew up in is not a Madison that they can afford to live in anymore. And they're literally afraid of losing their homes. There's also the issue of the incoming people and housing. That is kind of an existential threat to the city, but much of what our existing residents are really concerned about is just their ability to stay here and how quickly this neighborhood, this district is changing before their eyes, and whether or not they're going to be able to continue to call this home and whether or not they can keep a grip on it. The second thing I think really centers around the environment. I have heard time and time again from people how they're really concerned. They have major environmental concerns. And I think that District 15 is an epicenter of that, especially in the area of water. We have toxic plumes that are spreading towards our drinking water wells that are soon going to have to be treated just for us to be able to drink it. We have PFAS that is flowing through Starkweather Creek, which goes right through the heart of the district. And we have lakes that turn into green muck where we have health advisories not to go into them. We are ground zero for an environmental emergency, and people are aware of that, and they really want something to be done about it, and they're afraid of it. And I think there are roles that the city can play that are very commanding and important roles in that regard. So those are, I would say there are many things. It's hard for me to prioritize exactly the top two, but those are the top two that I would share tonight. Thanks.
This is the part where Sarah says thank you.
Thank
Sarah.
you, Brad. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Nick's got question number 2 posted, which is, how can the city assist with increasing home ownership? What other programs might possibly be eliminated or reevaluated to prioritize home ownership with regards to the city budget?
So
And we'll start with Brad this time.
All right, super. Thank you. So I think the most obvious solution to producing more home ownership is actually to build more homes. I mean, we can't have more home ownership without more homes. What we're seeing an awful lot of right now is construction of apartments, which is another important part of it. There's a lot of people who apartment living is very appropriate for them, or it may be all they're looking for in the beginning. We need more opportunities for home ownership. That means that the city needs to prioritize new home construction, because when we talk about home ownership, we only have an existing number of homes in the district right now. We don't have a terrible lot of unbuilt land. When we talk about growth in home ownership, it really needs to be viewed on a citywide scale. On that front, I've done a lot of different development work, always in the affordable housing sphere. So I've got a lot of experience on that front. And I think I understand those models, how they work, how they don't work very, very well. And especially in terms of how that interfaces with the general public. And when we talk about different types of housing, I understand how how visceral this issue is for many people by virtue of the work that I do with people who are all formerly homeless, many of them for many, many years. So my understanding and my empathy and my experience with the issue of housing is extremely deep-seated, both on an emotional level for what it feels like, and as well as on a technical level for what it takes to make these things happen and get them to make them real in our community. And I think that that combination really sets me apart in many ways. I hope to meet this challenge that we're facing as a city and as a district right now. That's all I've got. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, never mind.
All right, Nick, we're ready for question number 3.
Oh, no, we need to hear from Dina about
Oh, I'm
homeownership.
so sorry.
I'm like, I'm here.
It's Monday, still Monday.
It is so
This
Monday.
is like my 9th Zoom call of the day, so proceed.
Yes, I definitely believe that we need more housing. Absolutely. As someone who isn't in any way, shape, or form available to access home ownership, I know what it's like to just be concerned with making my rent and staying in the neighborhood that I love so much in our city. And as our creatives, gig workers, and entrepreneurs are being forced out of the city because they can't afford to live here, all I think about is I can't imagine a Madison without mural arts, live music, live comedy, and I wouldn't want to live here if that weren't there. I'm in a housing situation right now that if I weren't living in that housing situation, I would not be able to live here. I would not be able to remain in Madison. When I moved here, I was paying the same amount for a whole apartment that I am now paying to rent a room from somebody I care about. I do support programs like Urban League and Own It, Building Black Wealth, to increase homeownership for those people who have been traditionally deprived of generational wealth. And I believe that we need housing for everyone, and we need density that will encourage vibrant communities. So yes, I want everybody, gosh, I want to own a home. I want to own a home. I want to rent one of those luxury apartments, either one of those. That is not available to me. So I love home ownership, but we've got to find a way to house everybody and then get them on their feet and give them stability so that they can actually get to the place of home ownership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, question number 3 is, what do you plan to do to slow traffic and increase safety on East Washington Avenue?
I will start this one. I believe that the use of speed tables would be beneficial, especially in more pedestrian dense areas. It would also alert speeders that, hey, there's somebody coming up, so calm down, slow your roll. Traffic calming strategies like narrowing lanes to alert speeders of upcoming pedestrian areas and stoplights. And better regulating the flow of traffic with the use of lights. Good Lord, our light system is bonkers sometimes. I set 15 minutes just trying to get across the street at East Wash once, and I think that's unacceptable when people have to get places. But the use of those lights and the speed tables, I think would really do an effective job of making people who are speeding aware of the fact that they are speeding. A lot of times we don't know that we are. So that's what I would encourage. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready for me to go?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So The funny thing about this question, it reminds me of some of my first neighborhood involvement, which was around Lowell School, the intersection of Atwood and South Fair Oaks, when my son was in kindergarten, and people were terrified of that intersection. And some of the first work I did was actually passing petitions around, working with traffic engineering and the police department to actually redesign and implement something different there. It was some of the first neighborhood involvement I had. And it worked. We really made some changes there. Back to East Washington Avenue. I would say that there's two different dimensions to traffic control there. One of it is enforcement, and some of it is design. Enforcement is the police, and when there are people doing things like racing through, running lights, driving dangerously, there's enforcement. So the first thing I would do is I would meet with the police department and say, okay, I know that there have been efforts on this front. What has been working? What hasn't been working? Why do we still have this problem? What more can we do? I'm going to talk with traffic engineering, because traffic engineering brings a whole different set of tools to the table. And they can talk about, these are the things that we can do to actually slow traffic down, or we can do this. And they've got a contradictory job, because on the one hand, they need to get as many people through there as possible because there's so much traffic that needs to use East Wash. On the other hand, they need to slow it down and they need to control it. So it's a tough knot, and that's why it's taken as long as what it has. But by bringing those two parties together, traffic engineering and police for enforcement, I think we could come up with some really novel solutions. We can look to others, see what they've done. We can see what's worked, what's been more effective in other parts of the city. I'm not going to tell you that I know exactly what those solutions are, but I know how to bring the right people together to find answers that will work and that can make a difference. Just like we did at South Fair Oaks way back when my son was in kindergarten. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Brad.
All right, Nick posted question 4. What are your ideas for addressing homelessness in our community, and how would you balance this with other priorities? What might get cut in order to address homelessness?
And I will add, during our meeting, our last meeting, we did talk about, those tough choices that have to be made in the budget. So we're, kind of looking for specifics. We all agree that it is an issue, and we're wondering how you would balance those priorities specifically, if you can. Thank you. And our starter is Brad.
All right. So the first thing I will say, because I know the homeless services system so well in Madison, we have an amazing system. It does some really, really good work. The problem is they are under-resourced and they are overburdened because the scale of the problem is beyond what our existing network can really handle. I think the city is in the process of stepping up to the plate. People probably have heard that there's a new purpose-built shelter that is planned for Bartillon Drive. It's not in District 15, it's north of there. That is certainly part of the solution. For me, the city actually doesn't play a huge monetary role in directly addressing homelessness. It is stepping up to that role more so, especially with the shelter. A lot of that was through special federal funds that came through. But the real thing to do is to look to others to help shoulder that burden. In particular, the healthcare system. Almost everyone who's homeless receives their healthcare through the emergency room. It is incredibly expensive for the hospitals to do that mandated care. It would be far more cost effective for them to help support homeless people being housed in stable situations through meaningful health care than to receive their primary care through the emergency room, which day after day, time after time, with client after client, is exactly what's happening. I think the city needs to really lean on things like healthcare providers and hospitals to help shoulder some of that burden for homeless services, for affordable housing, for solutions on that front. Because I can tell you, a lot of the people who work in homeless services, they have solutions. They know where the greatest needs are. When we talk about resources, it's time to draw in resources from other areas, not just to cut other city services and to shoulder that on our own, but to look for efficiencies and new partners, because I believe that they're out there, and this has been done in other communities.
Thank you, Brad. Dina, we look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I also think it's important that we acknowledge the systemic barriers like healthcare, like Brad was saying. I support, of course, Public Health Madison and Public Health Dane County, and increasing awareness of programs that provide addiction care and mental health care, which I think are very integral in creating better, integral in hitting the root problems so that we can actually get them to a place where they're stable enough to seek gainful employment and be able to afford housing. I'm also committed to expanding the CARES program. I believe that's a vital resource that we have. I also know that a lot of our homeless are fearful or hesitant to go into shelters that are available because they have had very painful and traumatic experiences, such as sexual assault, bullying by not only residents but also by the staff. So I feel like it's important that we also acknowledge that, and we find ways to give them shelter in places that may not be traditionally shelter places. I also would love to see more tiny house villages that will be able to afford people needing shelter access to those, so that they are able to not sleep in a foyer of a business in the cold. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Okay.
Nick has posted question 5. Did you want to read it, Nick? You're muted though, you can't.
No, just saying this one had some sub points, so I tried to separate them.
Yeah, so let me see if I can do this justice. So the main question was about how do you plan to communicate with your LENA constituents? The sub points were formats you might use for communication and sharing links to relevant content. And the second 2 sub points were how available would you be to our neighborhood, and can you commit some time to this particular meeting every other month or so?
And I'll highlight, I think I did see Grant Foster in the room, and some of these come from his legendary newsletters. So give him a kudo and forward that on to you guys. Links, people love the links.
Saying the stakes are the bar is set pretty high.
I was going to say, I'm not sure I can live up to the legendary emails from Grant Foster, but I will do my best. As an entrepreneur, as a creative entrepreneur, I have a bit of a flexible schedule, so I'll be able to rearrange things to make time for everyone in the district, because I love this city so much, and I love to do meet and greets, coffee chats, and in each area at different times, so that those who have to work day jobs can come and meet me for a coffee chat in the evening, and we can discuss the issues that are pressing for all of us. So my availability, is going to be flexible, and I just want to get with people. I mean, I love people. I think one of the biggest reasons for me running is that I love people so much. And when we're able to communicate and we're able to chat and we're able to just hang out without any great expectations, we can come up with amazing solutions. I will also use a listserv and a blog and social media according to the guidelines and regulations set forth by city, state, and federal regulations. But yeah, I will absolutely commit to trying to be here every every other meeting. I'll be here. I'll come visit. I'll say hi. And that's thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'm a dork.
Brad, you can go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So I will second what everyone here is already saying. Grant has set the bar absolutely in terms of his blog posts, and I would aspire to duplicate those. They're just a trove of information, and it stays there as a reference point. And I don't know that I've ever seen any from other alders that are as good as his. So I would definitely aspire to that as a first point. Beyond that, I know what it is to try and be available to people. I mean, right now I work in the organization I have. I make myself available to the clients that come in. A lot of times I'll be working. Just today, I met one-to-one with 3 different people who came in that was totally unscheduled. I think the communication is huge. It is really, really important. And more importantly than just saying communication, it's all about listening. Listening is not paying so much attention to what I have to say, but what you all have to say, and really emphasizing that. I think that in terms of being available to the neighborhood, there are a lot of ways. I do have a daytime job, and it's pretty much a 40-hour-a-week plus job. I am willing to work around that. I think that special meetings definitely have a place, especially around issues when people really we need to come together and talk about things. Email, while I know it's viewed as old school nowadays, is really a good way to get solid responses that people can go back to, and they can say you can give more measured responses. You can give meaningful responses, and I think that that kind of communication and writing is a way of holding people accountable, and I'm willing to be there and do that. As for meeting participation, yes, I'm all in on that. For years, I've watched as different alders have come and participated in SASE meetings, and I know just how valuable that has been for everyone, not just to hear what their updates were, because a lot of it was stuff that wasn't on everyone's radars, like what's happening at the city that we might want to know about. It was an opportunity to ask questions, spontaneous questions and things like that. So yes, I think that participation in all of the neighborhood meetings is very, very important, and I'm very much committed to that. So thanks.
Yes, thank you.
All right, question 6. All right. What are your opinions on the future development of commercial areas, condos, mixed use development, and mixed use not available?
Are we ready? I think
Yes.
I've done this
Yes.
one. Yes. Okay. So the commercial corridors are super important for this district. They are the coming together of so many things that are important to so many people. And I really understand that. This is where we have our businesses that we care about. When we want to get together in places, they are in the commercial districts by and large. They are gathering places in the businesses that we want to support because we don't want to drive to the far east or west sides. They are the places where our churches reside, where our public facilities reside. Developing those more intensely, I think, is part of the solution to the housing crisis. That's why we see more apartment buildings going up. And while people may have mixed feelings about those, it's also the best place to do it because it supports public transit. It also provides the customer base for all those businesses that people want to thrive. So when we talk about restaurants and coffee shops and places to hang out and hardware stores and things like that, they need customers. And the best place to have those customers is right there. It really goes hand in hand. And the other thing is that it really, by focusing more intensive development along our commercial corridors, we're taking pressure off of our residential neighborhoods. Time after time, I hear people voice concern over the character of their neighborhood and how they don't want it to be disrupted or changed. And I sympathize with that, and I understand that. I think that by driving more of that development to the commercial corridors, not overdoing it, but definitely doing it more intensively than what it has historically been, takes the pressure off of our residential neighborhoods while also building up the strength of those. We've seen that more on the north side of the district along Atwood Avenue, and how there's a coming together of new businesses and older buildings, existing businesses. There's some that are more affordable, some that are more expensive, but it's a powerful business district. And I see that continue to expand and develop all along Monona Drive and Cottage Grove Road, other commercial corridors. Thanks.
Thank you. Dina, when you're ready.
Thank you. Absolutely. I agree. I agree as an entrepreneur, and I believe it's important that we think out of the box, and we have to build community more. And in that, using our vacant commercial spaces to create community spaces, I think would be a very innovative use of that space. and investing in economic development for small businesses, especially small businesses and entrepreneurs. It will ensure that our neighborhoods have easy access to accommodations, like it will be able to accommodate people that have differing abilities. There are a lot of places in our neighborhoods where you can't just walk to grocery stores. You can't, if you're in a wheelchair, you cannot wheel over to a grocery store. And I think it's important that when we start thinking about this expansion and development, that we think of all people of all abilities, access to transit, all of that. I encourage building, I encourage commercial areas. Any housing is good housing to me. Thank you.
Thank you. So many thanks.
All right, question, I think this is 7. Lake Edge residents value preservation of green space and increasing sustainability. I'm sure all our neighborhoods do. What ideas do you have to promote these priorities, green space and increases in sustainability?
And one of the people who wrote this question also wanted to include like edible landscapes, or ways to incorporate that. And there's a lot of there is a process to apply for them, but it's very heavy as far as getting approval and just planting a bush that grows berries.
Mhm. Oh, and I'm going first, I'm assuming. I love that. And I will advocate for the reduction of barriers for that. I live in Eastmoreland. I live right across from the Lansing Food Forest, and I have witnessed what that space does to our community. Especially when it's not as cold as it has been, I see families over there just hanging out in the area. I see neighbors walking their dog and stopping and hanging out in that area. And I see people taking advantage of the food that's there. I love that. I'm a strong advocate for neighborhood gardens and urban agriculture. And I think strategically encouraging pockets of native plant habitats is important to give us a little more green space, of course. And in new buildings, I'll encourage innovative runoff and rain catchment systems, as well as making sure that our pavement is permeable pavement. And let's get our darn water clean so that I don't die of chemical poisoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. Brad?
My turn. All right, thanks. So I think the city has a really big role to play in this. The city gets to set lots of guidelines, rules, put incentives in place to do all sorts of things. And oftentimes city codes are what's in the way. And I think that seeing what's wrong and making those corrections, I am a huge advocate for that. And we've seen a lot of this. I have to say that there's a number of things that the city can and will and should do. Some of it comes down to building codes and what is sustainable and what is not, and how we implement that in terms of what happens to our runoff water, things like that. We also can do things like restrict toxic substances that might be sold as lawn applications in our stores, because we don't want them in our lakes. We can do an awful lot more to more aggressively plant and grow an urban canopy. I mean, the best way to cool the city off in the summer is big trees. Everyone loves them. Everyone wants them. City policy has not traditionally really favored that. And I think that we need to turn that around. There is a way to really transform neighborhoods and parts of the city in ways that is totally unrealized. And there are lots of opportunities for that. In terms of sustainability, I also feel lucky to be witness to one of the most incredible stretches of land around here. And that is the community gardens that I look out from our front porch. And the community gardens where the bike path goes across are coming together of people and forming community, and people growing sustainable foods and harvesting that food. And the community that I have witnessed in spaces like that shows me what the absolute best recipe for success is, or one of the best recipes. And across the path from that is the Prairie Restoration Area, that a few of you may know about. We have amazing examples of things that work, and they work in spades. we need to find ways to duplicate those throughout the district as ways that foster not just sustainability, but community and people coming together. So yeah, I've seen some great things happen. I'm very prepared to foster and support those.
Thank you. Just in time.
Yeah. All right, next question. Accessibility from LENA to the north side of Madison is lacking. What specific ideas might you have to improve that?
Okay, I think I'm first on this one, right? All right, so I'm a little bit confused on this one. I'm not sure if this is lacking in terms of public transit, like public transportation to get there, or if it's just that the road network we feel doesn't work well enough to get there, because those are kind of two different things in my mind. I
Would
think
anyone
that
from the board like to qualify that question a little bit?
Yeah, we can qualify. The conversation at our last meeting sort of had to do with less like not having to drive there, bicycling or B-cycle stations or busing from, yes, this area to the north side. So more those low carbon ways of traveling. Does that make more sense?
it does make, yes, it does. And as someone who's a very avid biker, I have for many years biked year round, through the winter, studded tires, the whole 9 yards. I'm very conversant with the challenges of getting around the city by means other than automobile. And you're right, there's pretty poor connectivity in different areas of going north. I think that the emphasis there is to bring people in from Ped Bike Committee, as well as from Streets and Transportation, and talk about what we need to see, what needs to happen. There are existing things that exist and that are there in part, and we need to make connections to complete them. Some of that, if you look at the long-term plan, is already in the works, or it's slated to happen in the next year or two. I think that bringing those experts out from the city and actually doing presentations at the neighborhood level, which is something I've seen happen in Sassy, can be really, really instructive, so that they get the feedback that they need, so that they're not just making guesses about things or just moving along, but to really get the feedback at the neighborhood level about here's what we feel is lacking, how can we best connect these dots to make this better, and then aligning the city resources to make that happen. I have seen that happen with bus transit. I've seen that happen with biking facilities. And that network really is growing. There's all sorts of news coming out about connections that are happening or that are slated for the near future. So yeah, it's bringing the people in from the city who are responsible for those areas, getting them that feedback, and really pushing for those connections to be made, and learning more at a neighborhood by neighborhood level, so that we know how to take advantage of the things that are already out there. Thanks.
Thank you. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. Well, as somebody who has an office on the north side, I totally am all in when it comes to creating better routes. I would prefer not to use my car, but as someone who has the knees of a 102-year-old woman, I don't ride a bike. And walking can be difficult for long stretches of time. But I have a hope that BRT is going to bring a wonderful change to the city. I'm definitely interested in encouraging routes to the north side as well as the south side, and making sure that we are connected to the communities that really need that transportation, making sure that individuals who have to get to work, get their kids to daycare, grab groceries, are able to do so in a manner that is timely and conducive to building their family outside of being on a darn bus. When I moved here, I was on a bus. Took a bus from the east side all the way to the west side. And after moving from Los Angeles, it took me 2.5 hours each way. And that's not sustainable for working families. And also, as the Oscar Mayer property is developed and work live areas are created, I think it'll be even more vital that we have access to it via bus and bike trails. to make that whole area a little more vibrant than it is already. So thank you.
Thank you. And did you say BRT?
Yes, bus rapid transit.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you, Nick, for the next question. What is your stance on the possible train station to connect Madison to the Empire Builder line? If you support the addition, where would you prefer the station be located, in your opinion?
Is that me?
I think that would.
You're on, you might as well just keep going.
Okay, let's do it. Yes, please. Yes, 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 please. I think that transportation like this is important. It connects us to other cities. It makes travel a little more accessible to those who aren't able to afford it. I love it. And if I can get from here to Spokane, Washington, I would be happy. Like, I love that idea. I think it's amazing. And it would make it easier when I have to go to Chicago for a comedy show, like I think it's important. And I think it creates more vibrancy in our community when we're able to get to places and do things that we want to do. I think Oscar Mayer area would be an incredible place to do it. It's centrally located, easily access, gives easy access to downtown and other parts of the city. And seeing what's in the plans for it would just make sense to have it there and to really create a buzz and a vibrant community that is connected not only to Madison, all of Madison, but the world, like, I love it. Yes, 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 please. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this is something that is long, long overdue. As many people remember from the Walker years when the whole thing got put on kibosh, we have been waiting in the wings, hoping that this would be our reality for so, so long. And I'm so excited that we are on the verge of this maybe becoming reality. And so it's fantastic. I'm very excited about it. I'm very much in support of it. As we think about locations, my opinion is that I think the First Street location is best. And I say that because it is probably the most accessible in terms of the existing transportation routes. You can get there without too much difficulty from downtown. The student population will be huge users of this, as well people who may be working downtown. It's also a short jaunt from the Near East Side. It's also quite close to Oscar Mayer, but it doesn't attempt to cross the isthmus, which I think would be really, really challenging. So I see it as the best of all the possible options from what I see right now. I know they're studying different zones, but I think that to me, as I look over the plan, I look at all the potential areas, to me, it holds the most benefit for the most people to have there. But I think the most important thing is for us to go all in on really supporting this and bringing it here. Because once it starts to see success, we may see that same train stops at multiple places in the city and could actually, so maybe we have a Near East Side location, we have a downtown location, we have something a little more north. So we need to look to the future as well. But the great first place to start, I would say very much First Street location. It is set up to be a winner right there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes, yes.
I think, is this one of our last questions?
It's either last or
Yes,
next
this
to
is
last.
the 10th question.
Okay, good. Oh, we're good on time. All right, question 10. How do you plan on reaching out to, representing, and bringing in folks from marginalized communities?
Brad, this is yours to start.
All right. So thanks. For me, whenever we have issues or we have meetings about anything about policy or neighborhood meetings, the first question to ask ourselves is who isn't here? Who isn't here? Who isn't being represented? Who's really impacted by the decisions that we're making, the things that we're talking about? And we should be asking those questions before the meeting even starts to try and make sure that those people are there. Whether it's reaching out to them directly or reaching out to interest groups that may work directly with those populations, it is incredibly important that we have representation at the table. The organization I work for, we have 3 of our clients who sit on our board of directors. It is incredibly important. We are all in on having representation from people who are affected by the populations that we serve. I think that plays out at the neighborhood level. It definitely plays out in city committee levels. Again, it's always asking ourselves, who is not at the table? How can we make sure that they're there? How can we invite for them? How can we accommodate them? I know that, for example, with the Homeless Services Consortium, the people who we consider lived experience, they have experienced homelessness, are actually paid for their participation because their time is every bit as valuable as all the rest of us who have jobs doing that. That sort of model is exactly the sort of thing that should be put on the table for city committees as well. If we value people's participation, then we should be willing to compensate them for that participation in much the same fashion that someone is employed in that line of work is getting paid. I think that that can make a real difference in participation. I've seen it happen in homeless services. I've seen it happen in the organization that I lead. I don't see any reason. I see every reason to do this at a city level. I think it could really be a game changer for how we connect with other communities and people who are underrepresented and oftentimes left at the sidelines.
Thank you, Brad.
Nick, the battle round was your idea. Would you like to describe it?
Dina, we'd love to hear from you on this topic.
I would love to. speak on
Sorry,
that
what is
topic,
wrong with me?
And I won't
So
need
sorry.
5 minutes.
No, but I'm gonna leave it up like it is. We'll just time it.
Okay, cool.
Go ahead.
I'll be pretty quick. Yes to all he said. As a member of a marginalized community, it's important that we go to those communities to talk to them about what they want done, what they need. I don't understand the lived experiences of people of color, but I do understand the lived experiences of trans people. But as somebody who's part of that community, we have seen over and over that people don't come to us and ask us what we need or what we want. And that goes for all people within marginalized groups and communities. We need to go to them, ask them, and take their lead and pay people. Thank you. Yes, pay people. Yes, pay people. I am poor, pay people. Yeah, sorry, that wasn't eloquent. That wasn't smart sounding, but that is the truth. And I love everything Brad said, and I wholeheartedly agree with it. And we need representation for all people. And so they need to be asked to the table when we're talking about issues that concern them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Now I will actually say the right thing. So sorry about that. Nick, do you want to describe your thought here on the 2 last rounds?
Yeah, sure. So we wanted to give some time to the candidates, 5 minutes each to sort of have kind of a closing statement and also kind of help you give you an opportunity to describe what makes you the best candidate for the district, to represent all of us specifically, really give you an opportunity to talk about what differentiates the two of you. Yeah.
And I also wonder if 5 minutes, well, you should use as much time as you want, but maybe if people had burning questions, participants, if there happened to be extra time, I see we're already at 7:30. So I don't know, I just want to, if people had a burning question.
Yeah, I haven't seen any in
wondered
the
about
chat
them.
so far, but that doesn't mean there aren't any.
They've been so attentive.
Oh,
So
now
maybe
we're getting a few.
Yeah, so how could we incorporate those? And also hear from our closing statements?
Oh, goodness.
Well, I mean, we can work them into closing statements. I'll read them. So describe to everyone what makes you the best candidate to represent us specifically. What differentiates you from your opponent? Another question is, if you were on the council now, how would you have voted on transit-oriented development? And third, which mayoral candidate do you more closely align with? So if you could work those in, that would be great. Oh, and the F-35s have come up also, so 4 things.
And then since Brad started the opening statements, Dina, do you want to start with the closing?
Sure. I'm just going to say I hate that. idea of a battle round. I'm not here to fight Brad. I respect Brad and the work that he does, and I'm here to fight for the people of the district. Like I said, I'm an individual who's experienced housing insecurity and poverty. I know what it's like to have to eat rice for a month. So I am here to make as big of an impact I can for people that are experiencing that insecurity, homelessness. As a trans person, seeing everything that's happened in our country, I think it is important that we have trans representation. When somebody on the national stage calls for the eradication of transgenderism live on television, there is a problem. And I think I said this at the beginning, but I'm throwing my hat in the ring because I think it's time that we do something before it really infiltrates Madison. Everybody wants a golf course, and so I will tell you, I have relationships with both Mayor Satya, and I have a relationship with Gloria. I love them both, and I am not going to make a decision on that because I'm going to have to work with either one of them, and I'm going to continue a relationship with them after whatever happens. So I support them both. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like trying to choose between your child and the other child. I don't know. I definitely support transit. I love the idea of having transit that allows people who need to get to their jobs, to take their kids to daycare and school, who need to get their groceries without spending a whole evening or have to get up, take 3 hours of sleep just to get to and from work. The better we make our transit system and the better we make it serve the people who need it most, the more vibrant our community is going to become. It's going to give people a hand up. It's going to help people live their lives and not have to sacrifice their family time. I feel like that's super important. What else do we have in questions? F-35s, I don't like them. I will support noise abatement and anything I can to make sure that your lives are a little bit better. If we could kick them out, I would love it, because I believe that war is pretty much just a tool of the elites to use us as pawns to do their work, and it's ridiculous. Monona Golf Course, I'm sorry, I will have to look into that. I am a vegetarian, and I will have sauerkraut on my vegetarian brats. I'm trying to get everybody's questions. There are so many things.
Yeah, there was the transit-oriented development. How would you have voted?
I would have said yes for sure. I'm pro that. And I think that's all I've got. Like I said, I really respect Brad, and I love what he's done. And if you vote for him, I love it. Great. If you vote for me, awesome. All I want is to see Madisonians have better lives. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, David.
Certainly.
All right, my turn.
I can, do you have our timer, Bentley?
Do we need it?
I can do it
Let's
myself.
just proceed without it.
We'll proceed.
It's
All right.
7:36. If Brad's still talking at 7:40, or 7:44, so I'll holler at him.
You can trust me, no
Perfect.
problem.
I trust
All
you.
Thanks
And
so
then-
much.
Oh, I was just gonna say, there was also a question about having, Alder Foster share something at the end, a couple of minutes. I don't know, just putting that to you, Bentley. And sorry to interrupt, Brad. Please go ahead. We look forward to hearing from you.
No problem. Again, thanks so much. So this place is a district, this district is a place that I have come to love as my home. And I've spent most of my life actually connecting people to homes and a sense of home. That is really what I'm all about. And it's where my motivation comes from. I think the most important thing I can do is speak to the values that I bring to the table, that I carry with me, and that I've had for all these 20+ years of experience. Those values are patience, calm in the midst of the storm. People will always say that I'm the one that I can keep my cool. And I love to embrace the diversity. When I think about the East Side, the Near East Side in District 15, I think about the incredible amount of diversity that we have here. We have so many different kinds of people with so many values, and it is exactly what makes this place so wonderful. There is no one sect that represents everyone. Instead, what it really takes is an attitude and an openness to embracing all of that. I feel like I have been doing that time and time again in my involvement so far. It permeates the work that I do. We take people, we call it screening people in rather than out. We take people regardless, clients regardless. We house them regardless of what their histories are, because we know that people need to be housed first before they're going to be able to move on to other things in life. It is fundamental to my way of thinking. Lastly, in terms of values, I would say humility, which doesn't usually sound like a leadership value, but it is, because it's about being open to what other people have to say. It's about listening and learning from people who are the real experts about the places that they live. That is something that I've been doing time and time again and consistently for all of this time. In terms of what differentiates me from my opponent, I think we have a lot of values in common. My first impulse was just to say experience, but it's more than that. It's experience coupled with passion for the work that I do. I didn't do this sort of work for 20 years and stay in the nonprofit sector and go to and do all this neighborhood organization just because I like the experience. It's because I'm passionate about it. I really care about these things. When we make amazing neighborhoods, we make places that we want to protect and we want to foster. We want to keep growing. One of the most amazing experiences I had was around Garber Feed Mill. When we brought the neighborhoods and the neighbors together around that issue, around what the future that they wanted to see for that site. And I look at the reality that we have now, that was such an amazing success. And I think that there are more successes like that just waiting in the wings, that are places that are not just a win for a few people who may live there or a few business owners, but wins for the community, wins for the East Side, and wins for Greater Madison. Building on that history of success, that embracing of diversity, of all that makes the East Side unique, and our ability to play an active role in the context of a bigger Madison is where I'm at. I would love the opportunity to serve you all as your Alder for District 15. I hope for your vote, but if you don't, I am going to keep on fighting the good fight and doing the work that I've been doing all this time. I've got all these things in the chat. Transit-oriented development, you bet. I would definitely do that. I mean, it works hand in hand with many of the other things that we're doing. I know that a lot of people are nervous about side impacts from that, loss of some service in the neighborhoods. There are things that we need to address that are as of yet unanswered there, but I believe that we're headed in the right direction. F-35s, oh my gosh, SASE rallied against this. I was president at the time, and we really came out and partnered with other organizations, steadfastly resisting that. Even though that decision has been made, I am a firm believer that decisions can be unmade and new decisions can be made. I think that the impacts on the Near East Side in particular are going to be disproportionate, and they are going to be harrowing for some people. There are some people who I talk to who are afraid they're going to have to leave their homes because they are going to be so terrified of these sounds. It just has a visceral impact on them. Monona Golf Course, I'm not a golfer, so I have to admit that is not one that I have brushed up on. Like Dina, I don't have a strong position on that right now. Give me some time to listen and to learn, and I'm sure that I would. There are other things in here.
That's our 5 minutes, Brad.
All right, that's all I need.
Can I just ask him one more question? Was sauerkraut on brats, yes or no? Dina answered.
I actually don't eat meat either.
There you go.
The sauerkraut on a veggie brat. We like double veggie.
All right. Thank you very much for your participation and your time. We appreciate it very much. I will get this recording posted somewhere and email it out to everyone. Any last wrap up thoughts from the board?
I just
Um,
wanted to thank both candidates for coming. This was just wonderful. It was wonderful to meet both of you, and thank you for, giving such thoughtful and heartfelt answers to a really long list of questions. And so thank you so much.
Hawk, I think you had your finger up for a question, if I saw you correctly. I think that's what that meant.
Sorry, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thanks for doing it. For running. It's not easy. It's a pain in the butt. It's a lot of hours, and I appreciate both of you for doing it. It's a thankless job, frankly. So I want to thank both of you for running.
Yes, thank you. And to the person who asked about grant speaking, we'll have him back in April, and he can speak for a bit in April to the current challenges that he's thinking on as the outgoing alder. All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time. Board members, I think we'll probably just stay on this meeting since our other plan didn't work out. Take a 5-minute break.
okay.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Dina.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great to meet you.
Likewise.
Don't forget to vote, everybody, no matter who you're voting for. All right, and I am gonna have to go because I have to put my daughter to bed and my wife has COVID, so I gotta get out of here tonight, but yeah, I thought that went really well.
I do too. I thought the turnout was nice.
Yeah, it was good.
And I'm so sorry your family's going through that. That's a very
Yeah.
bumpy road, I'm sure.
It's okay.
And thanks for being on the board. I'm feeling very thankful. So look forward
Wait,
to
Kate,
Me
next
too.
month.
I
All
have
right,
a
guys.
question. Are you trying not to get it?
It's been so far so good. They're almost out, out of it, so
It's super weird. I always wonder how people do that, like how you
Yeah.
you try to sleep in a different room and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And it's
yeah, we're
like,
sleeping in different rooms and everything. And
it's
When I-
nuts.
when I had it 6 months ago, my family didn't get it. I quarantined in the basement, and now
That's awesome.
now they're the ones.
That's
So maybe I
awesome.
probably have some immunity left, I guess, from that. So
Yeah.
anyway,
luck.
yeah, wish me luck. I'm trying to not get it. So
Let us know, Kate, if you
Good
need anything,
luck.
okay?
Oh, thanks, you guys. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bentley, did you get to go on your vacation?
No, it's going to be next
Aw.
week, and we're only going to Door County for one night. I've never
Oh,
been to Door
man.
County. In the 22 years I've lived here, I've never been to Door County.
Oh, well, it's great. I don't know what the weather's gonna be like.
Yeah, I
but-
don't know either, but it doesn't really matter. The rest of it will be a staycation, maybe
Okay.
fishing, painting the house. I don't know, doing nothing, watching
Where were you
TV.
supposed to be going?
Mexico. All right, I'm going to remove one person who seems to have left the room, who wasn't on the board, leaving me, Hawk, Sarah, Kathleen, Nick, and Laura. Good. Okay. Kate disappeared. She's coming back or not?
Nah, she said she has to go early.
Laura does. Sorry, no.
Kate did.
No, Kate.
All right, now I can turn on my blue eyebrows. I was playing with these last night with my wife as my dummy and my guinea pig. Where are they? Can't find them.
Well, thanks for being the timer, Bentley, and Nick. Thanks.
Oh, I'm not very good at it, am I?
No,
Clearly.
you did fine. You did great. And they alternated, and Nick, you put the questions in, and I said thank you